Well, good morning, evening, afternoon. Yes, it's me again. Second week, and it's going to be a quickish net, I think, unless a few more join. It's a little bit quiet, but anyway, we're here. It's happening, and all good. And there's good news, really, really good news. We're pleased to know I'm not doing the net next week. It's Saro's back. View 2 OBR rather. Let's get it right. So it'll be good to see Saro back, and look forward to that. And maybe a few more might come on. I'm sure I've put everybody off, but anyway. And as far as I can see on the who's on the, let's have a look. Let's see who's listed. I put Leon on. I've not heard him, but I'm assuming he's going to be there. So I'm going to hand it round to Leon first. Then obviously it's Mike. I think he's got lots of things he's been testing with Simon, so I look forward to that. And Ed, well, you never know what's going to come with Ed. I look forward to the start of that. Usually makes me laugh anyway. I'm going to show a short video. It is a short video this time, which let's go back to me on the camera. I nearly clicked on the wrong thing. I thought it'd be good just to have a look back a little bit to how things sort of started off a bit. And I found a little video by VK3ZPA Peter in his early days. A lot of people probably have seen it. I hadn't. If I had, I'd forgotten it. But I'll play that, and then I just found it very interesting. It sort of highlights how things have moved on so much in such a short space of time, really, and what we're doing now, and what it was in the early days. So let's start that and keep things going. And just to remind you, Saro will be back next week, so something to look forward to. Over to the video from G8Koe.
I'm Peter, and this is my story of my involvement in amateur television during the 1970s, before colour. But firstly, a little history. Around the 1930s, a number of individuals and organisations became involved in transmitting images via wireless. One such person was Gil Miles, 3II. He was involved with television and radio laboratories, and in January 1929 he transmitted pictures via 3UZ. Gil moved to Tasmania, became VK7KQ, and was the secretary, I believe, of the Tasmanian division for some time. So he was still an active amateur. Later he moved to Sydney and became VK2KI. There were other notable experimenters during that time. One in particular was Tom Elliott, VK4 Charlie Mike in Brisbane. Tom transmitted pictures from the old windmill tower in Brisbane and used the Baird system. The government, however, was not very happy about allowing television to start commercially in the country, and they had placed bans on the importation of television equipment. I think there were economic reasons for this. However, when the Olympic Games were mooted in 1956, they opened the regulations up to allow the importation of cameras and other items of equipment from the UK and other places. Now, Len Moncur, VK3LN, the father of Rex, and Jeff Hughes, VK3AUX, discovered this loophole and managed to obtain 2 camera tubes from the United States during that short window which was open to allow the importation of camera equipment. More about them later. Eric Cornelius, VK6EC, published a number of significant articles about television in Amateur Radio magazine over a number of months, starting I think in the mid-50s or the early 50s. And then we move into the time when my story really commences, and that's in the early 1970s. Television equipment became much easier to obtain, and it was relatively easy to get operational. Oh, and somewhere in the middle there was a resurgence in interest in the Baird system when pictures were transmitted between VK3 and VK5. So this is the story of my journey, and it unfortunately includes many fairly poor pictures because we took photographs off the screen of the first events, and there were very rarely were there photographs of the high quality or higher quality images. However, this is the story from my records. During the 70s, some television camera heads became available. They were imported by the government for a particular project, but this project was cancelled and the heads sat around for a long time. They were in fact German Fernseh camera heads, and they were nothing more than a camera head about the size of a paint tin. As you can see, it's almost cylindrical in shape. It included a set of scanning coils for a 3/4 inch Vidicon and 2 valve preamplifiers, and that was it. You had to fit your own lenses, you had to make your own camera control unit and sync pulse generators. I became involved because 2 or 3 other people had found out about these cameras and had obtained some, and they wanted some information on how to transmit on 70 centimetres. None of them had very much experience up on those frequencies, whereas I had. And so I was approached, the deal being that they would help me out with a camera head if I could show them how to build a transmitter or what to do to get a signal on the air. And on the right hand side of the screen you can see my shack during the early 1970s. The shack was basically a 6 metre AM, 2 metre AM, bit of 2 metres FM and 70 centimetre AM station. Antennas were 13 element Yagis at about 30 feet, 10 metres or thereabouts, and most of the equipment was homemade, as you can see in that photograph there. The transmitter for 70 centimetres was based on a design in the RSGB manual, except their design had a QQEO 320. I decided to move up to a more powerful tube, a QQEO 640, which I think I managed to get about 60 watts out of quite successfully, and it worked really well. Not long after I first built the unit, I had it running for a while, soaking on transmit, and all of a sudden I could smell some smoke. The design called for dielectric tuning on the end of the plate lines. You can see the end of the QQEO 640 and the plate lines and the dielectric tuning. Well, what had happened there was I had picked the wrong dielectric, hadn't I? And it wanted to cook like a pie in a microwave oven and got to the stage where the pie caught on fire. So anyway, we corrected that, used some better quality dielectric. Also, the other thing for the amateur television side of things was to include a modulator, and you can see the red cross there over the grid resistance. That was the point where the modulator was installed. You had to have permits to transmit on amateur television, and this is an excerpt from AR, Amateur Radio Magazine, in January 1958. So you can see back then there were quite a few people becoming interested in television. How many were? I do not know. I know there was activity in New South Wales, and I know that there was a little bit of experimental activity in Victoria. But as I said, it was necessary to have a permit to transmit television. You had to have the stroke T if you were going to go on the air. So we went through all the necessaries to obtain a new license. I was first licensed in 1962, and you can see that this license here on the right hand side was issued to allow for the transmission of television. And here we are with our very first signal on the air, taken in Sunbury, a few kilometres away from my place. Not very good, but it was on the air, and there was great excitement indeed. I turned the camera around from my caption card onto myself, and yeah, a bit of a wavy looking picture there, but I sort of looked a bit like that in those days. As I mentioned, one had to build the camera control unit and sync pulse generator and obtain a 3/4 inch Vidicon. We managed to get a second-hand Vidicon without too much trouble. Had to mount a lens on the front of the camera head and make the camera control unit and sync pulse generator. That's roughly the block diagram of it. On the right hand side is the camera and the necessary connections for the deflection yokes and the video out on the blanking, and the rest of it is really a block diagram showing how the sync pulses were generated and amplified, etc. Later I built a transmitter just dedicated for television, and that's the complete transmitter there with a intercarrier sound generator. The transmitter this time used the QQEO 320 and a Varactor multiplier, which you can just see the box on the left hand end of the aluminium final cavity at the back of the transmitter. And here's the circuit for the modulator, which I used on both transmitters. Fairly straightforward, just a couple of transistors. It seemed to work okay.
Well, that's part one. There was a part two and a part three, but I won't play those now. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's worth looking back, I think. It's quite interesting. Anyway, I'll put it round to Leon. Hopefully that you're there. Fingers crossed. And yeah, just a quick look. There's no one else has joined. So that's what we're at the moment. So right, I'll pass it over to you there, Leon. ZS1 Mike to take it. Golf 8 Kilo Oscar Echo.
Oh, thanks, Martin. Do I have audio?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've got audio. Yes, that was very, 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 very interesting. Yes, so yeah, it reminds me of when I started to play with ATV. Very low power, just to get a few blocks, street blocks from here. But at least I started with solid state. That was in about 1980. So yeah, cameras and things were far more plentiful than they were in those days. But it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic with what basic equipment one could get a picture on the air. We also had to get special permission to transmit television, and I don't know whether it's ever been lifted. Maybe we're all operating illegal, I don't know. But I'm sure Gary would have said so. So yes, oh, by the way, good morning, good afternoon and good evening to everybody on the net. What have I been doing? Oh, I had a 2 meter low noise amplifier here from a friend up north. He couriered it to me. Oh, gee whiz, it's more than a month ago, I think. He replaced the gas FET, but he said it doesn't work. It just increases the noise. So anyway, when I put it on the spectrum analyzer, I could just see hairs. So the thing was self-oscillating. Unfortunately, through all his attempts of replacing the gas FETs, because I sent him a whole lot of gas FETs some time ago, he damaged the tracks, the input and the output track, the gate and the drain tracks. So I did it with copper foil, stitched it a bit and so on, and I had to add 1 picofarad across the output line, and yeah, voila, there it's working fine. The noise figure is not too bad, and the gain is about 28 dBs or so. I had it on the noise figure meter here and checked it. So now I must just courier it back to him, and yeah, that was this morning's job. What did I do yesterday? I can't remember. I was busy. I was very busy. We are terribly busy at work at the moment, but hopefully only 2 weeks left. Then it all should come to an end, and then I'll be retired again for a while, which will be nice. Then I can carry on with my own projects. So yeah, okay, that's it from me. Seeing that it's such a short list, I may stand by for another one. So Mike, over to you. G0MJW for the group from ZS1 Mike.
Right, hopefully it's working. G0MJW. Thank you, Leon. This is SDR television again. I'm aware that it occasionally glitches, but all of those things seem to be an update. This is the one. So yeah, I can see it still freezing occasionally. I'm just going to try something actually. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to try stop receiving it. Maybe I shouldn't try and do that live. It probably will crash if I do that. I'm just wondering if it's having trouble working on both transmit and receive at the same time on my my computer. Right, anyway, all good. I don't really have very much to say. Find a relay switching board creation, but that was in KiCad. Apart from that, it's been work for the past week. So I will keep it short, but as you can see, transmit side is okay. The receive side, by the way, is flawless. At least it was on both of your transmissions, Leon and Martin. So so that was good. No mini tuner here. Remember to watch that Pluto buffer. Yeah, I'm watching the Pluto buffer. 300. Simon. But that will certainly start to cause some issues because of the feedback. That's just showing how well it's receiving at the moment, which is not that bad actually. It's not doing too much LDPC, but enough, and the buffer is staying relatively good. So yeah, okay. Right, around to you. Let me find a test. G0MJW.
Okay, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Papa Yankee 2 Radio November. Hello, Martin. Thanks for handling the ATV net coordination again. Very, very professional. Thanks. And by the way, thank you for the video. Very interesting from Australia. Yep, seems the guys there has long history of the ATV experiments. Very interesting. This is actually null down here, and I wouldn't say only in Brazil, but I believe Latin America as well. Not much activity. There were some ATV activity on the, I think on the end of 80s, beginning of the 90s on UHF 432. The São Paulo Amateur Radio Club used to transmit analog television, but with very limited power and stuff like that. So, hello, Leon. Great transmission as well. Mike, yeah, I'm wondering, Mike, what kind of, I mean, what's your PC capacity? I mean, what is yeah, your glitches on the transmission still exist. Very short glitches, but still there. Not sure if it's related with your PC capacity or not. Maybe not, but I'm just curious. What is the what do you have in kind of what type of processor memory you're running there? And in the reception, how's the reception behavior? I mean, it's reception going well. I mean, do you have glitches on the reception as well, or the reception is smooth? Just curious. Okay, yeah, sure. Very few people on the net today. I started the YouTube streaming a little late. No, actually, I started, like I tried to start 5 minutes before, but I don't know, YouTube channel, get very lazy and was not starting to stream on the usual DATV YouTube channel, so I start streaming to my own channel, which seems it was faster. So at the end, I just published two links, so we are transmitting both. I was not able to start the streaming on Facebook, which is a pity because last week we got 1,000 views on the Facebook streaming, much larger number than YouTube. Don't know the reason, but I was not able to start on Facebook. I don't know, maybe some network problems. Anyways, it's always a pleasure to be here online and live with you guys. I see someone is putting the name on the list. Okay, so I will not go back to Martin. Instead of going to Brian. Hopefully you get things ready there, Brian. I'm gonna pass to you. Golf 6 Hotel Fox Sierra. Let's hear from you and see from you there. Hope everything okay. Well, weather here is absolutely gorgeous, although it's too hot. I mean, temperature going above 35 degrees, but blue sky, very sunny, and that's okay. I'm not taking temperature measurement from my PA. I got problem with my temperature sensor. I need to reinstall a temperature sensor on my PA. But hopefully it will survive with all this sun here on the ATV. It's because here it's near midday. It's 11:26 local time. Going to Golf 6 Hotel Fox Sierra, please go ahead from Papa Yankee 2 Radio November and the worldwide DATV net.
Right, good morning, evening, afternoon. Just thought I'd show me ugly face, drop in. Just show what I'm about. Not been too busy. Been trying to resurrect an old little laptop. But finding it fun to see what operating system's going to work. So I've just been fiddling with that. Yeah, I just got back in from having to pop out. So I thought I'd just come up and say good afternoon, etc. to everybody. And seems few people on today, but I suppose they've got other things doing. And yeah, not been on since Gary announced his happenings out there. Seems to be a bit of a disaster, to say the least. Anyway, I thought I'd just come up with this over to say hi and support the group and say 7 threes for now and hand it back to Martin, G8Koe from G6HFS.
Yeah, G6HFS, G8Koe. Make sure that I've got some sound, which is always good when hear someone come back. Yeah, when you're there, Mike, pictures are amazingly good. There's some dropouts with me. It's quite weird because, as I said, as I keep repeating, in OBS, VLC in OBS suffers with lots of POC errors on a number of stations. I get a few, lots of others get a lot, and other people get none at all in there. But MPEG and RTMP, not RTMP, brain's gone, the other one, MPV. They were both locking up fine, and the ride was locking up fine, so I don't know. It seems to be so many variables. I'm glad somebody else is able to crunch all the numbers, certainly not me. Well, it's a short net, so I'm going to actually play the second part of that 3 series videos, and at the end, if there's still people around, I'll play the third part and get it out the way in one go. But I'm pleased that Leon enjoyed it. Hope he's able to stay around for part 2. And I'll just remind you that Sarah is doing the net next week, and yeah, the streaming. At the moment, there, Ed, I'm streaming on YouTube and on my SRT repeater is streaming up, and also on the BATC, all done with the encoder box at the moment. The Zoe Tech encoder box is doing that, but I've never quite mastered yet how you successfully start the YouTube stream nice and easily and sure that it's there. I started mine very early because I'm new to YouTube in a big way, but so it was probably streaming about an hour before the net started. So I'll leave it just running. I'll try and edit things down if it came over. So at the moment I'm receiving on a ride, bringing it into my laptop, which is across the other side here, which is accessing the SRT repeater, which is using the Zoe box to shove it everywhere on the streams. Anyway, let's try another round, but I said I'll play the so let's see how we go from G8Koe.
In last week's episode, Peter Wolfenden introduced us to the early pioneering television experiments of Australian radio amateurs from the 1930s to 1960s. Peter described how he accidentally entered the world of amateur television in the early 1970s, noting this was in the days when affordable domestic video camera and videotape recorders did not exist. In this week's episode, Peter explains the types and purpose of amateur television test patterns, the influence of overseas clubs such as the British Amateur Television Club, the impact of how to build articles for converters to receive signals in the ham band, and amateur television DX between VK3 and VK7.
Hello, I'm Peter, and this is my story of my involvement in amateur television during the 1970s, before colour. Test patterns became necessary for people to give you decent reports. It was very difficult in my case to get much more than about 300 lines, but we did achieve it. This was a commercial card from English Electric. I was into photography at the time and made a number of cards for different amateur stations around by just photographing the call signs on a piece of cardboard in the centre of the screen. This was my commonly used card, the first one. You can see there are a couple of different sizes, or about 4 different sizes of printing there, and I mentioned that there was a group of us, and this was the group, another amateur in Sunbury, and a station in Essendon and Box Hill. This was loosely referred to as the Sunbury Amateur TV Group. On the right hand side of the picture you can see Mark II version of the test card, and I think I've got 250 lines and 150 lines marked there on the sides of the main caption, and again even a greater range of print sizes. So what was happening was that we were getting a number of people coming on the air, and in their excitement in handing out a report, they would say, "Oh, I'm receiving a fantastic picture from you," and then you would say, "Well, can you read the line across the bottom of the screen?" "Oh, yeah, I can sort of see something there, but I can't quite make it out." So the test pattern card became a good way of finding out just how well a signal a station was receiving. And here's just another one, a bit of variety, because when you're just transmitting captions most of the time, you need something else to look at. We used to run a technical link on 2 meters. That was a talkback link, 147.63 I think it was, if I remember correctly. And that was chosen simply because somebody had a crystal on that frequency, and or which would work on that frequency, and so the 4 of us set up 2 metre Vintons and what have you on 2 metres to talk back to each other. I joined the British Amateur Television Club, and they had a lot of good information. They published a regular magazine, which was of great interest to anybody interested in television. A5 magazine, the American magazine, became available to us here in small quantities. British Amateur TV Club was founded in 1949. A5 magazine started in 1967. And the BATC also published things on artificial television. Enough said. One big step forward was the design and publication of this converter. It had a major effect on amateur television right across Australia. Published in Electronics Australia, It was a simple design which anybody could build, and it worked. It worked really well. The only change I ever made to it was to put an extra low noise preamplifier on the front of it at one stage when I was trying to receive one or two other stations, but most of the time I would just simply use that converter as it stood and feed it, of course, into a normal conventional television set on one of the vacant channels. We made a visit to Channel 9's transmitter up on Mount Dandenong, and this was given to me by one of the operators up there. It's interesting to know in the very early stages, all of the television advertising done when the test patterns were running, and some of you may remember that, all of that emanated from the transmitter. The clock, the lot was all up there. Of course there was a link down to the studios, but I would imagine that the studios would have been flat out during the day organising material for the evening transmissions, or the afternoon and evening transmissions. Don't forget, pretty much everything was live then except for film, no videotape. And the British Amateur TV Club also brought out a test pattern which was very good and used by a lot of us. This was perhaps one of the better things that they did, was a BATC television reporting chart. The only problem was with this that you had to have the chart at the receiving end. So again, there was a degree of confusion as to whether something was acceptable or fairly good or passable. Anyway, it did help. VK3YGB was a friend of mine within the amateur TV group in Sunbury. He in fact was located in Essendon, down in a hole in the ground. We did not have a direct path, but we managed to get pictures through. Here's an interesting image from VK3YAZ. You can see a wavy line there on the picture below. That's the Yarra River around Warrandyte. He was up in an aircraft transmitting pictures. Unfortunately, here at Sunbury, the images weren't terribly strong. On the other side of Melbourne, closer to the aircraft, apparently most people received almost noise-free pictures, but we were just a bit off the beam. I think the aircraft might have been flying in the wrong direction for us. Another friend from Diggers Rest was John, VK3YJB. He was actually located at the Army Transmitting Station at Diggers Rest and got very good signals through to this location. You can see the old Atlas television set I used as a monitor. I reduced the scanning a bit so you could see the full image size in the screen. And here's a very early picture, probably the first day that Peter put a transmission up, or the first time I received him anyway. Peter was the other side of Melbourne, so we were beaming directly across Melbourne, probably in the order of maybe 50 or 60 kilometres apart. Les Jenkins, 3J, at Frankston, one of his early transmissions. At the bottom right-hand corner, we can see a live broadcast retransmitted by Don, 3YV, from Forest Hill, also across Melbourne from me. Don was a technician at Channel 7, and this was a retransmission, I would think, of the ABC, dare I say, of their New Year's Eve concert. Don would run a few minutes of this each New Year's Eve. And you can see, complete with sound, you can see it was a magnificent image. Now we move on to some of the interesting DX. This was the first image I received from Winston 7 Echo Mike from Tasmania, from Penguin, in 1972. And this was the picture which he received from me. Again, noisy pictures, but they were there. And it was great excitement. In December 1973, we replicated the two-way exchange from December 72. But again, pictures fairly average.
In next week's episode, Peter Wolfenden concludes his early amateur television adventures.
That's part 2. So, there's a part 3, but we'll see how we go. Might put it on at the very end. Right, let's round you there, Leon, if you're still there. And I understand Mike's dropped out, so the net's getting smaller. So over to you there, Leon, from G8Koe. Well, it looks like Leon's gone as well. I didn't realise he was going, but I should have paid attention. So, it's over to you there, Ed. Let's hope that you're there from G8Koe.
I'm here, Marty. I'm not sure about Mike. Maybe Mike's still around, but thanks for the second part of the movie. Very interesting. I think Leon gone, and yep, very interesting. Regarding the streaming, yeah, you know, it's you know, only Gary Zulu 06 Yankee India. He's the highest professional, you know, for all those streaming, and there's no gaps when he do the streaming, and but for us. We are just learning, Marty. Maybe after a few months, we're gonna be better on that. But anyways, great net, short one, but thank you all. I'm gonna give again to Mike, Golf Zero Mike Juliet Whiskey. Not sure if he's still there. Just curious to listen about his system for SDR TV. And if Mike is not there, so gonna be with Brian, Golf 6 Hotel Fox Sierra. So Mike, back to you. Golf Zero Mike Juliet Whiskey from Papa Yankee 2 Radio November and the net.
Yeah, okay. Ed, thank you. I can come back quickly, but only briefly. I'm not using the SGR TV anymore. I'm using my old system. So things will be different, as you can probably tell. Hopefully there won't be any breakups, but you never know with it. Just looking now at SGR TV, and it's not running. I'm wondering why it's not running. But this is somewhere here. I can go to the desktop and you can see it. But what I can't persuade it to do is actually receive at the moment. And I'm wondering why. I guess I just need to select the receiver again. Yeah, no, not happy at all. I wonder what's happened there. Maybe I need to reboot that Pluto. It's probably got a bit confused. Okay. Yeah, interesting net. But yeah, quite short as well. So glitch. Yeah, but this isn't the this is not the same system at all. But I did try and start STR console, so that might have glitched the existing one. Sorry, STR TV might have caused a glitch there. Of course, there's possible something wrong with my PA or my another part of the transmitter. Who knows? But hopefully it's not that, and it's fixable by a little bit of editing. We'll see. Right, anyway, I'm not going to come back again. I think it's Brian next, isn't it? G0MJW.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mike. G6HFS. Just mute that. Right, there we go. I suppose the only something new I've been doing is I've been playing with the ride, so I get a permanent display on the right hand side of your MER and margin and power if you want it. Thought I'd play with that to save me keep having the info button on. The only other thing I did decide to do, I've had my ports down a little while, and of course I decided to play with the Langstone a few weeks back and found one needs a mouse wheel. So I thought I would go to the optical project. I've got the optical encoder come in and other bits and pieces that are required for it. I decided to go the little PCB board, or the PC, can't remember what it is, one of those little PC boards, because that way you can have left and right buttons as well as tuning. So I should be filling with that in those parts. They should be in this next current week. So that'll give me something to do while this grotty weather's still here. It's only 4 over here in this part of the UK. Right, I'll hand it back to Martin. I'll say 73s to everybody. Good afternoon. And as I've said to Martin before, I need to go to the canteen, getting a bit of a dry throat. So I'll say cheers for this week, and maybe on next week. So round to you, Martin, from G6HFS. Let's put test card up.
Yeah, thanks there, Brian. Yeah, I didn't have to go to the canteen. It appears some of my cup of tea brought to me. Yeah, I thought Mike had on the chat said he wasn't coming back, which is why I didn't hand it to him. But thanks for popping up again there, Mike. And yeah, there's show glitches, but I must admit, VLC liked you a lot in OpenTuner. I didn't show any errors at all, so I don't know. It's all a mystery. As it's been a short net, I will put I think everybody else has probably disappeared. But before signing the net, I'll put part 3 on for those that are still around and might want to watch it. And then I'll sign the net at the end of it. But thank everybody that did pop up. And I should think it'll be busy next week, as I said.
World of amateur television in the early 1970s. Noting this was in the days when affordable domestic video camera and videotape recorders did not exist. In this week's episode, Peter explains his participation in CQ-TV Award contacts, including rare 16mm footage of the DX contacts, color 16mm film of a local radio amateur's microwave and television equipment, and describes a tour of GTV9 transmitter site. Peter also outlines some of the lectures and location demonstrations the local ATV operators gave in the mid-1970s.
Hello, I'm Peter, and this is my story of my involvement in amateur television during the 1970s, before colour. During 1977, I took some motion picture film from the screen of the television monitor in Sunbury of Winston. As you can see, they were pretty average pictures, but I thought they were wonderful. No video recorders available to me at that point in time, and this became quite a permanent record of what took place. Very snowy pictures, quite poor, but they were there. A block diagram which Winston used for a demonstration in Tasmania at some stage earlier. And you can see some caption cards of various stations he had received. There's one of Greg's. And then a few days later, this happened. Most of the time the camera is running continuously. I stopped it here for a second or two and then restarted. Watch the image. Not quite noise-free, but not far from it. One of Winston's favourite caption cards. You can clearly see, yeah, up on the top right hand corner, you can clearly see VK7EM, can't you? We wanted to record the time and date of this transmission. Discovered the clock was out by 10 minutes or so. And Winston went in there and adjusted it, as you could see. And right at the end of this film, you will see a piece of paper with the date on it. Conditions were obviously varying through the evening. My memory is that this lasted for about an hour, this contact. Back up again to a fairly strong signal. Bit of shutter problem there with the camera. And there's the date. All of this culminated in an award. Winston applied for the new CQ-TV Award, which was available from the British Amateur TV Club, and it was quite interesting that one contact on my part gave me a bronze award. VK3AUX is another interesting station on the Melbourne scene. Jeff was a dispensing chemist, and he had been playing around with ATV since the mid-50s. He had a location on Mount Dandenong. House was down in Caulfield, but the residence on Mount Dandenong, right up on the top. And here are a couple of pictures I snapped of his camera on the left and monitor on the right. This is the view out of the window. Unfortunately, today the camera was really playing up. That's some 10 gigahertz equipment he was playing around with. You can see the film was buckling in the camera. There's a close-up view of the camera, his television camera. Unfortunately all out of focus, but that's the way it went. And there he is adjusting the camera control unit. We also did a transmission to the WIA, the old headquarters building in Victoria Parade. This was a very tortuous path. In fact, I understand that the receive antenna at 3WI was quite a few degrees off a direct bearing to Sunbury, and we understand that the signal received there, which was not really great, but it was there, was bounced off the ICI building up the top end of the Melbourne City. And here is Greg, VK3YGB, explaining aspects of our system, and whilst I was standing near the transmitter rack in the same room during that lecture in 1973. Some of the diagrams used for the presentation, block diagrams, there were quite a few other bits and pieces shown, but this is just the bare bones. Also, there was involvement with the Diggers Rest and Sunbury Scout groups with amateur TV. Here you can see my picture as received by John Buxton, 3YJB, and a picture of his setup. I think this was actually at Dallas, so it was down near Glenroy area, I think. And there you can see my received picture, or part of it, and he's just getting ready to transmit his image. You can see the Scout's head on the monitor down below. Various other caption cards used for particular purposes. One was a Geelong demonstration. You could see a number of call signs there. We all went down there to Geelong to the Hamfest. And I can't give you the exact date, but these were the stations that were active, noticeably active on air at that particular time. I think we're talking possibly mid-1970s, I think. Yeah, it'd be mid-1970s. And we also did a bit of work on 1200 megs with Les 3ZBJ from Sunbury to Frankston. Transmitted a few movies, silent movies mainly. One was to Bob, VK3ZB, who was very much tied up with amateur satellites. He was down in Strathmore, got quite a good signal strength from me. And on the right hand side you can see Peter's more recent, or well in those days, more recent caption card. The image up on the top left-hand corner is a frame from that Bob snapped from his television set of part of the film that I was showing at the time. And here you can see on the top right-hand corner some of the setup here, including an old 35mm motion picture projector. Obviously, I had an interest in movies and such things at the time. You can see the camera on its stand looking down towards the floodlit caption card, and for some reason the TV set sitting on a stand there And up on the bench, you can just see the edge of the camera control unit. The transmitters are behind us. So that was, 1971. That was fairly early on. Down the bottom left-hand corner is an interesting story. When we visited Channel 9's transmitter at Mount Dandenong, we were sort of taken right around the whole place, and I noticed behind one of the racks of equipment was this box with fly wire all over it, bronze fly wire, and I asked the question, well, what's all that about? Because it didn't seem to be connected to anything. And one of the guys got all excited and said, he said, that's what we use to transmit the cricket between Adelaide and Melbourne on. I thought, yes, I remember this. They circled, I think it was somewhere around the border of South Australia and Victoria. They had a DC-3 going around in circles. And this chappie told me that he was an amateur, actually. He said, we pinched a few ideas out of the ARRL handbook and built up this transmitter. And what they were doing was receiving the signal from presumably Channel 9 in Adelaide. Maybe it was Channel 7 in those days. And they retransmitted it on an unused channel in Melbourne. And I think it was Channel 6. It was received at Mount Dandenong on Channel 6, piped down to the studios, and then sent back up again after it had been mixed with audio commentaries and whatever else, probably the advertisements. I just thought that was a great bit of history. In April 1977, the need for a stroke T identification was removed, and we all received a letter saying you can do away with your stroke T. And this brings us to the end of my story of amateur television during the 1970s. My journey. There are probably a few more stories which could be told, and some which are best left untold. It was an interesting time. My logbook indicates that the last contact I made using amateur television was in January 1981 when I worked Ian VK7ZIE in Devonport, Tasmania. On the same page, I've noted that Channel 028 opened its transmitters in Melbourne on the 24th of October 1980 at 6:30 p.m. This presentation was put together in 2012 for the Macedon Rangers Amateur Radio Club and has been suitably enhanced by Ian VK3QL. I hope you've enjoyed this story. 7-3.
Well, that's it. Part 3. Hope that was enjoyable. I enjoyed it anyway. Particularly found interesting about the aircraft transmissions and the burning of the transmitter. Well, this brings the Worldwide Net to an end for this week. Just a reminder that Sarah will be running it next week, and look forward to seeing you all. So the 7-3s from me, and we're at the band open. I shall be monitoring for a little while, but been a good net, even though I think so anyway. Well, I would say that because I was running it, but hope it wasn't too bad for you all. G8Koe signing the Worldwide Net. 7-3s all.
Thank you, Martin. That was great. That was great, Ned. Thank you very much. I just wish to say hello and 73 to the YouTuber viewers, not YouTuber, but the YouTube viewers. Regina, Delta Golf 5 Fox Mike, Peter, Delta Kilo 3 Zulu Fox, and obviously Gary, Delta Zulu Sierra 6 Yankee India. 73 to all, and hope to see you all next Sunday on the worldwide DATV 73. Thank you.